correspondent at the Élysée Palace as more and more world leaders arrive to take part in the Unity March. And with every minute that passes, more and more people arrive here. I can just see, even if since we started broadcasting this hour, how much tighter the crowd is. This is one of the main gathering places in the heart of Paris. 7 streets run into here in a metro station. It is very much the heart of the city, and today the heart of the nation, and at the very heart of a major issue affecting not just Paris, but so many places right around the world. And you can see how they've now gone on top of that monument now, where the rallying cries that have gone down through the centuries here: liberté, égalité, fraternité, liberty, equality, and unity. And that is the big question in France now, about whether these values that they hold so dear, they say, have come under attack, and how to keep them safe. Well, the French security forces were able to end the 2 deadly confrontations on Thursday, 2 hostage-taking situations. 3 gunmen were dead after their synchronized assaults, both on a kosher supermarket in the east of Paris and also at an industrial site in Dammartin, just north of the capital. But one person, the partner of one of the gunmen, is said to be still on the run. Ayad Boumaidine, it's still unclear where she is, but most reports now say that she left the country earlier this year, had been spotted in Turkey, and could possibly have already crossed the border into Syria. Well, today, what has emerged online is a video of her civil law partner, Ahmed Koulibaly, who had taken hostages in the kosher supermarket. He has now been seen in a video professing allegiance to the Islamic State group known as Daesh, and saying also that he also killed the female policewoman in a linked attack just after the Paris shooting.
Paris, a city that's been gripped by terror, which has left France a nation on the highest alert. This is what that looks like. Hundreds of extra police and troops deployed on the streets of the capital in response to the heightened threat. The French president saying the country must remain vigilant. In 3 days, 17 people have been killed in a series of attacks, 4 of them in a siege at a Jewish supermarket. Ahmed Koulibaly killed them before he himself was killed in the police raid that followed. Koulibaly's mother and sister have condemned his actions and say they do not share his extreme ideas. But his partner, Hayat Boumediene, has not yet been found. The security services believe that she flew to Turkey on the 2nd of January, then crossed the border into Syria. It's thought that is where she may now be. Back in Paris, a neighbour said they seemed like an ordinary couple.
The woman was always entirely veiled. They weren't mean people. They would say hello, goodbye. They would hold the door. I bumped into them many times, but they were very nice, never any problems.
As tributes grow outside the Charlie Hebdo office, where 12 people were killed, investigations are underway. It's thought the suspects, the Kouachi brothers, may have had links to Al-Qaeda in Yemen. Sharif Kouachi's wife is being questioned, while the hunt for Boumediene continues, the fugitive who remains France's most wanted woman. Ben Bland, BBC News.
Well, the authorities in France have thanked the people of France and urged them to come out in huge numbers today. In the words of the Prime Minister Valls yesterday, it was a moment for all of the people of France to show their love for liberty. And they've also been expressing gratitude for the support that's being shown right around the world. These were the comments made by France's ambassador to the United Kingdom, Sylvia Berman.
An historic day here in Paris. More than 1 million people will stand together and will march in unity, and we're very grateful to those who are joining us, and including the Prime Minister, David Cameron, and the head of opposition as well, Ed Miliband, and other politicians as well. And a lot of people also came to the embassy and they signed a condolence book, and also sent flowers like the Mayor of London.
It's an extraordinary moment, an extraordinary day, a defining day here in Paris that is resonating right around the world. Joining us here in La Place de la République is Christopher Dickey, who is the editor here for the Daily Beast, a veteran correspondent from the Middle East. Chris, of course, you know well this is not the first attack of its kind in France, but have you ever seen anything like this?
No, not as a response to terrorism. I mean, this is the worst attack on French soil in 50 years, and I think people really are shocked. It's certainly not 9/11 in the sense of scale, but as an emotional event, I don't think the French have felt this way for a very long time. So threatened, so puzzled, so unsure of what the future holds in store.
And yes, it's interesting how they have used this reference of 9/11. It was splashed on the front page of Le Monde newspaper. They don't, as you say, they differ in scale, but is it in the attack on a very important symbol that resonates in the same way?
Well, sure. Terrorism is an attack on symbols. That's what it's about, not just the number of people killed. The attack on Charlie Hebdo was an important attack on the press, on freedom, on liberty of expression. All of that's true. But it also says to the French, you are vulnerable where you live. And if the Charlie Hebdo attack didn't make that clear, then the attack on the kosher grocery did. And the idea that there were two coordinated attacks and that the vaunted French intelligence services somehow didn't know about these guys or didn't stop them when they did know about them, I think that really has shocked a lot of people.
So many people have said that they describe it as France before the attack on Charlie Hebdo and France after, which is a very noble spirit, a noble thing to say. But as you know, many societies go through these atrocious attacks and then sadly go back to what they were before and sometimes worse.
Well, I think this will change French society, but not necessarily for the better. I think right now we have, at the risk of sounding glib, a feel-good moment. People are coming here, people, not only French people, people from all over the world. This is a very cosmopolitan city. Right behind me, there's a man who's of Kurdish background, another one who's of Mauritian background. There are a lot of people of African backgrounds on that statue out there. They're all coming together, and that's all a very good thing. But the leader of one of the most powerful political parties in the country, Marine Le Pen, has been excluded from this. She will make an issue of it. She's already making an issue of it. I think we're headed toward very rough political times, and we're also headed for a level of suspicion in French society. Suspicion against Muslims, fear by French Jews. All of that is going to go on and I fear, is going to get worse, notwithstanding these kinds of solidarity marches.
And fears, too, there could be another attack. There's talk of sleeper cells being activated.
Well, I was in New York on 9/11, and that, to me, is one of the most similar aspects of this, that sense that you just don't know what is coming next. And I think everybody here feels that, including and especially at this demonstration. There are a lot of extra police out here, but there's a lot of uncertainty.
And the fact that the interior ministers from across Europe came here, the show of solidarity from so many world leaders, so many times they have said we're standing shoulder to shoulder. Do you think that it is now being driven home to them that they do need to work together in different ways?
Well, the question is, what does standing shoulder to shoulder mean? Are they going to change French laws? I know that there are people in Britain, reasonable people, who would like to see the possibility of preventive detention. Because you can have guys like the Kouachi brothers, guys like Koulibaly, who have terrible records and are obviously dangerous characters. But they may not have committed any offenses that will land them in jail or keep them in jail. What do you do about them? On the other hand, what happens to everybody else's civil liberties if there's such a thing as preventive detention? Those are the kinds of things that I think they will be talking about, but I'm not sure that they can resolve.
And today what everyone is talking about is this, Chris. Actually, it's extraordinary that people are coming out and saying it's... People often talk about the silent majority. It's silent no more.
No, and in fact, there's a nice thing you can do here. You see so many people wear pins that say, Je suis Charlie. And if you go up to them and say, Bonjour, Charlie, they will start talking to you in a way that French people do not normally talk to strangers. There really is a great sense of solidarity out here.
Christopher Dickey, we'll see you throughout the day, but thank you very much for joining here at this extraordinary moment right in La Place de la République, and a day of solidarity, a day for people from across society to come out, but it's also a day for French security, European security to focus hard and long on what will be done to contain this threat and to find out exactly how big this threat is. Let's just hear a little bit about what the French Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve had to say this morning just after the meetings ended.
I want to say there's considerable solidarity and deep friendship that I felt throughout the last few hours. There's not one minister here who didn't express his wish to be by the side of France, to bring France its help and tell their compassion. When a country is facing that kind of ordeal, solidarity, friendship, and reassertion of our attachment to a common value. This is a strength. It's a strength that is given to us to fight against terrorism. So I would like to say, with great gratitude, and from the depth of my heart, in the name of the French government, but also in the name of the whole of the French people, I want to thank my colleagues from the Interior Ministry for their presence here in Paris, for their solidarity, for the friendship and boundless friendship that they express towards our country. And I want to tell them, there again, from the depth of my heart, that I will not forget the way in which they have been beside us at a time when we were facing this drama. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. We are now going with my colleagues to the Élysée Palace, the presidential palace.
Bernard Cazeneuve, the Interior Minister of France, speaking after he met with interior ministers from across Europe this morning. Well, that part of the day is ended, but the second one is now continuing with leaders arriving from around the world. Let's go back to the Élysée Palace. Damien Grammaticus is there. Damien, just describe what you've been seeing.
Well, Lise, you talk about the interior ministers, and just in the last couple of minutes, that group of interior ministers, of European interior ministers, have come here from their meeting across the road. They walked just up the street. They walked straight past us here, up onto the steps behind me, where President Hollande is now. You can see him standing there ready to greet another of the visiting dignitaries. And those interior ministers, they posed there for a minute silently with President Hollande, all of them standing together with him. Another, if you like, of those sort of small moments of symbolism today. Among them was the British Interior Minister, the Home Secretary Theresa May. She was there alongside the French Interior Minister. Both of them walked up here together, and they have arrived now, gone inside the Elysee for the meetings today ahead of the march, but still this procession of world leaders. And just following the interior ministers in the last minute or so, we've had the Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas too, so he has now arrived and been greeted by President Hollande.
And we do know, Damien, that of course the leaders are not going to walk the full length of the march. It's about 2 miles long. I think security wouldn't allow that. But what else can you see in the diary? Will there actually be a moment for substantive talks, or is it going to be a very short but very symbolic presence of these world leaders today?
I think what we know at the minute, Lise, is more symbolism, but there is, of course, this gathering now that's starting to get underway as the leaders are coming in. In the next sort of 45 minutes or so, we expect most of them to have got here. Inside, then, a gathering over lunch beforehand, so there will be an opportunity there for talks, for exchange of views. The key moment will be, as you say, that march, as they join the march, walk alongside the marchers for a short distance, we understand, a few hundred meters, probably down one section of the route, likely to be very close to where the original attack that began this whole sequence of events back on Wednesday, the attack on the magazine offices, Charlie Hebdo offices. The leaders due to go to a point just close to there and march along with the crowds at that point. But as you're saying, the security concerns, of course, enormous for this number of world leaders in one place at one time. So we expect them to take part for a few minutes, perhaps, and then peel off again.
Damien Grammaticus, no doubt we'll join you again. Thank you for updating us on what's happening at the Élysée Palace, where That is the point in this city where the officialdom are meeting, and we are here now where the people from across Paris, from across the city, from beyond, from many countries who've come to be here to be part of this extraordinary day. And people are coming here for many reasons, but so many feel they have some connection. And that's the case too with world leaders. Let's just hear what the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, had to say about today.
I am leaving for Paris in order to take part, together with world leaders, in the rally for renewed struggle against Islamic terror that is threatening all of humanity, something I have been calling for in the course of many years. In the evening, I shall take part in a special rally with French President François Hollande and the Jewish community of France. I will say there that any Jew who wants to immigrate to Israel will be received here with open arms.
Benjamin Netanyahu speaking there about his reflections, his concerns. Of course, for the people of France, for the Jewish community here, the biggest Jewish community in countries across Europe, and a community which feels very much threatened. Yesterday, we spoke to a prominent community leader here, and he said that they felt very much reassured by the sense of solidarity, the way the Prime Minister has taken the first slogan which emerged, Je suis Charlie, I am Charlie, and he broadened it to say, we are all Charlie. We are all police officers, in recognition that 3 police officers were killed in the 3 days of terror. And he said, we are all as well the Jews of France. A very important community, he said. France wouldn't be France, he said, without its many communities. And today France is showing an entirely different face to the world. Let's just take a look again at the route that the march will take as it winds its way through the city of Paris. There's 2 routes. One group will go via Boulevard Voltaire, and it will end at the last place, the Place de la Nation. Another will march via Avenue République, Boulevard Ménilmontant, and the Avenue Philippe Auguste. And this well, this is the mood here today, and I can say that with every minute that passes, the density of this crowd gets ever bigger. My colleague Tim Wilcox was here earlier this morning and has been speaking to people in the crowds.
What do you think France wants to achieve today? Of course, it's a message of unity. Though it's a bit weird that Marine Le Pen, who's the French extreme right head, has not been invited. If it's a message of unity, it shouldn't be political. A lot of people I've spoken to, they're really afraid of that. And they just want to show that we stand here together. Everyone says we are Charlie. I think people are not Charlie yet. I think we want to be Charlie, all of us. We want to be not afraid and be as courageous as they were.
And Florence, is there an air of apprehension about today? So many people on the streets with one accomplice still at large.
I think people are afraid. It's kind of rare to see this kind of violence in the center of Paris. We've been spared for about 20 years now. We saw things happening in London. We saw things happening in Madrid. Up until now, we'd been spared of all this, and then these 3 days, they were really terrifying for a lot of people here in France. You had sirens all over the place, hostages in the center of Paris, shooting. So yes, people are scared, but I think people are also very defiant, and that's why they're going to take to the streets, even though there is a risk, even though we're not 100% safe.
Is France paying the price for the treatment perhaps of its former colonies? When you think about some of the banlieue here, you think about the deprivation, the social disenfranchisement perhaps of various Arab communities?
It's a very difficult question actually to answer. I myself, my family is from Algeria, and for very long, we don't learn about our own history at school. I know it's simple to say that, but I know much more about France than about Algeria.
It was the most terrible war of independence, hundreds of thousands of people.
Exactly, and I had to learn. I learned more in books and through the internet than at school, and with even my family. It's a very complicated history and story, basically, to talk with your parents. It's not something we talk about easily.
Well, Let's put more faces and more names on this huge and growing crowd. We're here with Thierry, who you're French,
yeah, and
also Ren, who's come from the Netherlands. Yes. Thierry, tell me why you're taking pictures, but what other reason why did you come here today?
I think it was really important for me to be here today. I came also on Wednesday night when the first attack arrived, and just to want to share with people, to be together and to show people that we're not afraid and we stand up here to resist to terrorism.
And you're not afraid? You're not fearful of the future now?
No, not for me, no. I want to be here. It was important for me to be here today.
And what about you, Ren? You're from the Netherlands. Why living in Paris? Why did you decide to come?
Well, I'm studying here, and I experienced this with great fear, I think. I was quite scared when it all happened. And I finally felt sort of courageous enough to come outside and see what's happening, really. And just experience all the solidarity and the united people of France, really.
Do you worry about your own country, the Netherlands? Because there's not a country across Europe that isn't spared from these big questions about how to bring communities together.
I think we're just as worried as other countries about what's happening, and all security has been sort of stepped up as well in the Netherlands, and people are worried it's going to happen there as well, yes.
And Thierry, you talked about unity. Do you think the French people of France can come together? Because there are many divisions. They were very obvious before, and they're really obvious now.
Yeah, I'm quite worried about the future, and I think a lot of people with so many communities, and you can see on Twitter or whatever that so many people that stay in their community. But I'm confident for the future also, and today is important to see that so many people coming from so many communities with flags, etc., want to share together and show to other people that maybe there's a solution to be to share or through feelings and things like that.
Thierry, Ren, thank you very much for joining us. And in fact, that is the point, because the solution to this problem has to come not simply from the officialdom, it has to come from within the society. And people calling for tolerance, for unity, for acceptance, that there are many different communities, whether Muslim or Jewish, people of no faith, who have to bind together to be part of France. Of course, the big question is the kind of violence that we saw in those 3 days of terror. What percentage of France's communities share in that very, very dark and dangerous spirit, and how to confront it? Those are big, big questions for the future. But today is a day of solidarity, of slogans, of a great spirit. Let's join my colleague Tim Wilcox, who's at the point from Avenue Voltaire, from where the march is going to begin.
Lise, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm right at the front of the main procession here, just at the end of Place de la République, the Boulevard Voltaire. As you can see, many thousands of people have been queuing here for the last hour or so, wanting to be at the front of this unity rally, feeling that it is a very important day. In about, we think, when the march starts, after a short period of time, the world leaders will join us at one of the sections down here and walk for 200 or 300 meters, just as an act, a symbolic act of taking part in this rally. Let's just talk to a few people as we just go through the crowds. Excuse me, sir. Madam, I think you speak a little bit of English, don't you? Can you tell me why you're here on this march today?
Because we are all Charlie today.
This is after Charlie Hebdo, the magazine.
Yes, of course.
And is this because of the shock that what has happened, and it doesn't represent French values?
It is against the right of human rights. It is against that.
And are you frightened about being here today, given what's happened?
We are not afraid of these Islamists, but we are here to prove that it is very important for us, the human rights.
All right, thank you very much. Does anyone else here speak English? Sir, do you speak a little bit of English? You speak Hebrew, so you're a member of the Jewish community here. Yeah, and you're French too. And do you feel threatened by what has happened in recent days? I spoke to several people in Port Vincennes who had considered leaving France because of the threat.
No, I don't live in France. That is my country.
Yeah.
I don't go in any place.
And what are relations like normally for you with the Muslim community? Do you?
No, that is, I don't have problem with anybody.
And what do you feel about the attackers who
It can go for everybody. is coming now too. Maybe somebody can put some bomb here.
All right, okay, thank you very much. Just to speak to somebody else here who I think speaks to Marie-Laure. Why are you here today?
Well, I think it's a very important moment for the country and for the world, because I live in, I had a education full of values, and I think in this moment all is lost. And I think this moment, I hope for the country and for the world, I hope that it will be a shock of conscientiousness, because all is bad, you know. And I think that we have to try and to inculcate different values for people and for the world.
And how important is it, do you think, that Benjamin Netanyahu is here today and Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian leader?
Well, if you want following all this march, I think that is a march of friend, and it will be friendly. But after,
sorry, someone's just sorry to interrupt. Someone's just fainted here. Okay, if we can just let this lady through. People have been here for several hours. This lady, unfortunately, has just fainted, and the police are just taking her away. Okay, let's just move around here. You can just see how many people are gathered here. A big police presence, as you can see. Snipers around the roofs of the march as well. One curious thing is, some people who got here earlier decided to actually sort of take some places in these restaurants, which have now been shut. But people, if you can look inside here, are having lunch and watching this march from inside the relative safety here of the restaurants. Lisa, I'm going to hand back to you now. Okay.
And that's my colleague Tim Wilcox at the point at which the march is going to begin. In the last few minutes, we had the crowd erupting in a spontaneous singing of the French national anthem, and the chanting never stops. Let's just take one last look at the crowds. These are the faces of France today. These are the faces of people who have felt it important to be here as part of this defining moment, an exceptional day in French history, a day when 1 million people are expected to march in a show of unity, a statement against terrorism, joined by leaders, more than 40 leaders from across the world. We have special coverage here on BBC News from the moment when the rally begins at 3 o'clock local time, 14 hours GMT. Special coverage of a special day, a day which matters not just to France, but to many countries, to many people right around the world.
Okay, that's my colleague Lise Doucette joining us from Paris, and we'll have more from Lise throughout the day. Ahead of that march, which more than 1 million people and dozens of world leaders are expected to join through Paris this Sunday, a show of national unity.